Hello everyone! So I went over this in a previous video and people have been sending me comments about the comparisons between Mass Effect Andromeda and New Gundam Breaker, especially because when you're in a bubble, when you're working on a video game for so long, you only focus on that one thing. That is the main thing that's your concern. So coming out of that thing and then remembering that all these other things kind of happened in the video games industry, it's nice and refreshing and kind of interesting to look back at what actually happened and think, okay, I was focused on something for 11 months and I do remember Andromeda happened, but it was very vague. I was busy focused on other things. So anyway, the idea of this video is to, having refreshed my mind on Andromeda, is to go and compare what Andromeda did wrong and what New Gundam Breaker did wrong and see exactly what happened with both of them. Now, both of them try and enhance their visuals by using unfamiliar game engines. That's the first thing. Andromeda used the Frostbite engine instead of Unreal Engine 3, which it had been using since Mass Effect 1. Whereas Gundam Breaker used Unreal Engine 4 instead of what we can only assume at this point, because I don't have any more information on it, is the in-house engine that they used to develop most of the other stuff. The difference being that if they're more familiar with their own engine than they are with one that they have to then learn everything about in a short space of time, it's obviously not going to be as good a title because they've not had the same amount of time to get used to the engine and its quirks. Both tried to build up on previously established formulas and failed. Andromeda tried to enhance the combat system in some ways, for instance giving players the jetpack, which only served to allow players to get out of bounds easier, which you can see in a lot of YouTube videos, whereas Gundam Breaker tried to focus more on the customization by having parts break off and having parts be able to be picked up on the fly. The problem is that it's tedious and leaves players with a mess of a gunpla or just an inner frame so many times they might as well just not have a unique frame. Both assumed that the changes they implemented were what the players wanted instead of understanding that sometimes players just want the same thing but with more options and better visual enhancements. It's not always the same. You know, you don't always want the same thing over and over and over again, but a lot of times when you're building sequels to already established games, like, for instance, you could turn around and say the Halo games are a very good indication of that, where you build upon, say, the first Halo game with Halo 2, where it had multiplayer introduced and had a little bit better visuals, and then Halo 3, where it had a lot sharper gameplay overall and a lot better overall gameplay for the multiplayer. So it has to be built on. Every iteration has to be better than the last, so they learn something from it. Both titles tried to soft reboot the franchise. Andromeda was supposed to be the start of a new story in the Andromeda Galaxy as an offshoot, and New Gundam Breaker was supposed to be the first title sold worldwide to players. Thus, this is why the new title was given to it, because it's a new area to expand into. It's also why they didn't call it Gundam Breaker 4. Both suffered from a messy development by the looks of it anyway, leading to rushed titles, multiple bugs, and ultimately really annoyed fans, which we can all agree on up until there. Now, I've been looking at the releases for each one of them and what came out near them, and of course, if you've been looking at gaming news recently, the people that made Mass Effect are blaming the fact that it came out within the same time slot as Breath of the Wild and a couple of other games. I mean, it came out in the same period that Breath of the Wild, Nier Automata, Elder Scrolls Legends, these are just to name a couple. I'm just trying to name a couple off the top of my head really quick. Kingdom Hearts, the remixes came out, and that was about it. So you had a couple of RPGs, but decent titles come out at the same time, so it was overlooked, especially because there were other options, because it was a buggy game. And then for Gundam here, Gundam has been released in June, and in June, the time frame it's released next to BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, which was kind of popular, Warhammer 40k Inquisitor, I'm just trying to see the ones that I know will be interesting and have sold a little bit. Muv-Luv and Muv-Luv Alternative for PS Vita and PC. Unravel, Jurassic World Evolution, Paladins, and the Lego Incredibles game. I think that's all that's come out so far. Oh, The Blob Remastered, Nier Automata again, Limbo on Nintendo Switch, Crash Insane Trilogy, and Wolfenstein 2 New Colossus on Switch. So yeah, there have been some really decent games coming out around it, so it also kills the sales that it's going to have, not just the fact that it's a bad game, or a buggy game. It's also the fact of the games that come around it, if they're better, people are just going to go for them immediately the moment they hear it's buggy. Like, for instance, if I still didn't have Nier Automata, and somebody turned around and went, you can choose between the new Gundam Breaker game or Nier Automata, I'd go for Nier Automata. Anyway, I'll leave this with you guys. Let's see what you say in the comments to all of this, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Laters.